Silverquill is an early game boss located east of Wendlewick on Havenheath. You can find its lair under the Blighted Hill behind a Sanguine Heart. First, I'll cover its attacks, then combat achievements, followed by laid-back methods of defeating it, and finally my overall loot and average value per boss kill. Silverquill uses melee, range, and magic for its normal attacks, but doesn't walk, so melee only happens when you're next to it. With Silverquill being a hedgehog, standing directly next to it deals small amounts of typeless reflect damage to you. Keeping with a vampire theme, Silverquill will spread tiny blood clots around the floor after every 4 regular attacks. These do magic damage if you're on top of them or next to them when they explode. At 66 and 33% health remaining, Silverquill will create 1 or 2 sanguine tumors. Silverquill also becomes completely immune to damage while these tumors exist, dealing massive reflect damage if you attack it while immune. The tumors don't have much health, so simply attack them to destroy them. If you wait too long, Silverquill will absorb the tumors and heal the amount of tumor health remaining. And its final attack, when the tumors have been destroyed or absorbed, Silverquill will throw a Blood Hog attack at you, dealing magic damage. And that's its attacks. Next, the achievements. As with all RuneScape bosses, defeating Silverquill 100 times total will give you 7 kill count achievements. Additionally, defeating it while only using a Haven Silver weapon is also an achievement. This one seems to be very strict. Invention perks, like Crackling, fail the achievement, as well as Reflect Prayers, armor that applies damage, and more. The only source of damage has to be from Haven Silver. Next, an achievement to defeat Silverquill using only melee without taking reflect damage. This one is also quite strict, as Reflect Prayers and some necklaces don't do melee damage. You also need a melee weapon with 2 range, as you need to stand 1 tile away from Silverquill to avoid its passive damage reflection. And final achievement, use Resonance or Divert to block all Blood Hog attacks. This is an attack that happens directly after the Reflect tumors. If you press the Resonance ability shortly after destroying all tumors, it will succeed. You need to do this twice during the fight, as it uses it at 66% and 33% health. Since I was doing damage too fast, I had to wait for Resonance to go off cooldown before lowering the boss down to the second Blood Hog attack. If you're looking for some laid-back boss pet grinding, this part is for you. I'll share my method and the current AFK methods as of this video's release date. My method works for any combat style and any setup, but it's not AFK. Just quite laid back. You bring whatever style you want, but preferably not melee. You want to stand away from the boss a little bit. Use whatever gear you have. You can run a standard Revolution Plus bar that uses abilities for you. The key is whenever the boss reaches the Reflect tumor, you want to press your target cycle hotkey. If you haven't set that up, press Escape to bring up your settings button, click that, go into the Controls tab at the top, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and here you'll find Cycle Target Forward. I've keybinded mine to tab, but you can obviously make it whatever you want. This button will target your character onto a nearby enemy, and every time you click it, it will target a new enemy. If you combine that with a hotkeyed attack, you will start attacking something instantly. And that's exactly how you deal with the tumors. So in this boss's instance, your character will focus on the tumor rather than Silverquill. So I press target cycle, then my basic attack, which I set to my E key. In 99% of cases, one basic attack will destroy the tumor at high levels. This way I don't have to move my mouse at all and barely have to focus on the fight. Sometimes it would refuse to focus tumors though, or I would switch back to Silverquill too fast and KO myself with reflect damage, but that is always a risk with this boss fight no matter what. PvMe has also cooked up some fully AFK methods for this boss if what I mentioned seemed too much effort. Note though that because of its reflect tumors, there is always a chance you may die, so keep that in mind. These setups have very strict gear requirements as to minimize the chance of dying, Your positions should be 2 squares south of the boss, and for the AFK magic method, you're going to need Blood Fury, level 95 magic weapons, so Fractured Staff of Armadale, or the Sanctum weapons, full Crypt Bloom armor, a Scriptural Fool, the Zuck magic cape, Greater Concentrated Blast unlocked, as well as Insight Fear as your spell, Animate Dead running every 12 minutes, Holy Scarab Summoning Familiar. You're also going to be using Penance Powder, Potion Reservoirs to automatically use your overloads, and you want these 3 Archaeology Relics active. Here's the ability bar you'll be using, and Salty has provided a guide showing off how it should look like. Now, this setup has massive upkeep costs, so I would sort of avoid this one if you're a little bit money sensitive, but the kills will be consistently fast using this one. Granted, you're burning through many millions of coins an hour to keep this thing going. A more budget-friendly version for Necromancy also exists, but the kills will be a little bit slower. This one requires an Amulet of Souls, 2 pieces of Death Dealer, which is the level 90 DPS Necromancy gear, a Scripture of a Masket, and the Necromancy Zuck cape. You'll also be using Hellhound Summoning Familiar for damage reduction, and Prism of Restoration to heal it back up again when it's low health. You're also going to be using a Potion Reservoir for this method to use your Elder Overloads. Outside of the 2 level 90 Necromancy armor, you're going to also be using 3 pieces of the first Necromancer set. Both of your weapons will be the level 95 Necromancy weapons, Omni Guard and Soul Lantern, a Ring of Death, and the Penance Aura or Penance Aspect if this has been removed. For this method, you also need Fury of the Smalls and Persistent Rage Archaeology Relics. Here is the ability bar, and the idea behind this ability bar is to generally let Scythe deal with the tumors, while Debilitate and Reflect prevent you from taking as much damage. Riku has some examples of this build in action, and so as you can see, the Scythe attacks actually hit quite a few squares next to your character, and the tumors tend to be relatively close to your character. Though in this instance, a tumor spawned between their character and the boss, meaning that your character just stops attacking the boss until the tumors are removed. And the boss will remove the tumors eventually, so you just have to let your character stand there for a little bit until it absorbs the tumors itself. As you can see, even with this tumor that's a couple squares behind, it still gets hit by Necromancy attacks when the upgraded Scythe ability goes off. And the same is true for these 2 here. You can see both of them get hit by the Scythe, so the Scythe has a really good range. This setup also requires far less upkeep cost, so this is the setup I would personally recommend if you don't want to do the active method that I showed you earlier. You could of course downgrade these pieces as well to whatever you have, but results may vary if you reduce it too much. Hopefully one of these methods will work well for you. Now, what's Silverquill's loot? Silverquill only has 3 special rewards, and none of them are actually equipment. The first 2 are Silver Spines and Sanguine Spines. Both spines are relatively common drops, and used to upgrade Haven Silver bolts through fletching, turning the bolts into level 30 and level 60 bolts throughout the upgrade process. The final item it drops, a Blood-Filled Cyst, is an item that unlocks the rare boss pet Needlemouse. I got this little fella at 322 kills, so I likely got lucky, but the drop rate is currently unknown. Have heard cases of people not getting it in 600 kills, so good luck going for it if you decide to. As for my total loot, I got 30 Sanguine Matter. These are untradeable and unnotable, so I couldn't bring them into the price checker. But the total loot of 323 kills is almost 4 million coins. This means the average loot per kill is 12,350. With the boss being released this week as well, some of the new drops like the spines may have inaccurate prices, leading to this also not being accurate as well. And if you're running the Necromancy AFK build, that's about 57 kills an hour, making this about 700k an hour. But obviously that's not profit because you have to repair your armor, so you might barely be breaking even at that point. This boss is definitely not a place to go to make money. This is clearly only aimed at early game players and people looking to get the boss pet. But this should give you a ballpark idea regardless of the value. Like and subscribe if you found this video useful.